Give me a second. We'll get this started. All right, so we should be live on YouTube as well as in the community. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Good morning. If you are on TikTok, I always like to say please hold your comments until the end, which is about 9 a.m. EST. So I do about 30 minutes because I actually cannot see your comments. So I will answer as many comments as I can afterwards. So first, I wanted to, first obviously say, like I said, hope everybody had a great weekend. Rested up yesterday, and that's kind of what guidance we put out in the room was just, take the time to enjoy the weekend because this week's gonna be a busy week. We don't really have a ton going on today, guys, but today's not the important thing. If you look at tomorrow, if you're following along, you go to bodjock.com, you go down to the bottom, you can go to economic events, and you can see all this. So if you go to tomorrow, right here, right, we have at 8:30, we have the core CPI data that's coming out. The interesting thing about this, right, guys, is we ended up going lower than expected last month, and the expectation is a just absolute massive drop from 4.9 to 4.1. So this is likely, obviously, playing a big role in the stocks pushing up, right? Um, I'm going to talk about it a little bit when we get into the crypto side, but be really careful on shorts on the crypto side because the crypto is not following stocks because it's being suppressed with all this bad news in the SEC and all this stuff, right? But you know, at the end of the day, everything going on in crypto right now is just due to fear, right? The weekends are selling, they're afraid, they're getting out of exchanges. Um, but the data's, there. The data's bullish, and at some point, these investors, these hedge funds are going to come in. They're going to scoop it up, and you're going to just see just a massive candle north on crypto to catch up to what stocks are doing. If we end up, with some real bullish news like that. Now, obviously, this type of stuff is already built into the market, but stocks are doing what crypto is not. They're actually pumping, right? And crypto is just kind of being suppressed with that news. So, for those of you guys who've been around a while, you guys know that typically once the dust settles, if the stocks are still holding up high, crypto's going to catch up. And for those who don't think that Bitcoin can move $3,000-$4,000 in a matter of an hour or less, you haven't been around long enough. So it definitely can. So just we'll talk about that when we're setting up our ATAs as well. So we got all that on Tuesday. Then right after that on Wednesday, right, we have the Fed interest rate decision. So it's expected to stay the same. Um, if if we do get a 4.1 out of that on the CPI, who knows? Powell could come out and talk about things about, hey, we're gonna keep it the same, and all it takes is for him to say just a couple of bullish comments, and I mean things are just gonna go through the roof, right? So be really careful trading. Today's kind of like what I call like the setup, right? Market makers are trying to they're gonna try to price in tomorrow and the next day, and so you're going to see big moves possibly up, big moves possibly down, and then somewhere in the middle. They're just trying to they're clearing and balancing liquidity, trying to do stop loss hunts, things like that. Usually is what they do, because the next 2 days is going to be pretty busy. After that, that you have crude oil inventory. You got some other good meetings, but it seems like Tuesday, Wednesday is going to be the bulk of it. So just be prepared. So we're going to talk about stocks first. Let's go to the SPX, and then I'll jump into my thoughts on the SPY. So the SPX, what I want to do is go to the 1 hour. This is kind of what I was kind of charting out, not too long ago. I'm going to mute some of these indicators. We'll probably just mute that one. The harmonic one, because it does buy, sell signals, shorts, all that is a little bit loud when you're trying to look at trend lines. So never be afraid to mute your indicators. So if you look here, I kind of map this out. Actually, let's start at the daily, right? So you can see my white lines. So I always tell everybody when we teach you in the community to scalp, always have your upper and your lower channels like that. And so you can kind of see we have this rising wedge forming. Typically with a rising wedge, you're going to want to have that bearish divergence with it. Right now, the last one we had was actually bullish. Coming through on the daily. So I would love to see this get maybe a little bit higher, and then start to shift down and get some form of bearish divergence, and then that would lead up to that crash. It doesn't mean we can't pull back, right? But it's not not necessarily looking like it's setting up for a crash. However, we are in the top of the range, guys. So for those who keep asking, you know me, I'm a scalper. So when I say that I'm only taking puts, it's not because I don't think we can go higher. It's because the risk or the reward potentially of how low we can go as I trail that stop is going to be massive. Those are where you get those big trades, right? And you can see we're at the peak here. We're literally right at that peak, and it's had trouble breaking it. For us to get a pullback, you know, back to as low as 41.89 would not be super shocking, guys. You can see, you know, on the shorter time frame, we kind of have this also like wedge sort of look going on here too, right? So if you go into the 1 hour like this, I'm gonna zoom in and show you. So we also have here, you know, you got a little bit of a lower high here, but the RSI is actually losing some steam, right? And we're high up in the range even on the 1 hour. So you know, as you flip through these higher time frames, I mean, look how high we are overbought. Could we go up higher? Sure, but even look on the 6 hour, right? You can see we're starting to lose steam, right? Have that downward trend, and we have this upper kind of upward trend, right? So the bearish divergence is definitely showing up for this potential you know, break. I would suspect, you know, we'll probably try to push up a little bit higher, maybe 43.26. My high would be somewhere around 43.50 or so, like that, right off of this thing. And then I mean, that's just going to be just such a great put setup. So I'm only staying put. Y'all know that in the room. But I'm going to wait for that setup, wait for the indicator to call that. If you go to our 1 hour and you look at our harmonic tracker, you can see it has not called that short quite yet. We are in a long. It called this short perfectly, and it called this long perfectly. And you can see, where is it? Yeah, so that you can see this long it actually called as well. So we had that push north, we had that short, we had this long. So I'm just kind of waiting for that short setup. It doesn't necessarily have to come on the 1 hour, but for that longer term reversal, because you can see from here, I mean, you know, I mean, it dropped probably about, you know, if you're trading the SPY, that'd be about $3-4 drop, right? Which is a lot of money if you're trading good contracts. So on the 1 hour, our POC is pretty low, around 42.70. So we're way up in this range, guys. So just be really careful. You know, I always tell everybody, if you can take calls. Just because I'm only taking puts doesn't mean you can't take a call. But if you're taking a call, set a tight stop loss, guys. Set a tight one. Don't take a risk trying to fight that. You don't want to fight here, right? It's just gonna get you wrecked someday. So, you know, but if you're one that loves to take calls, you know, my recommendation is, you know, if you caught it down here because you caught it off the bounce, I mean, awesome job. If you caught the retest back down this way, great job. But you know better than to chase a candle. So I hope so. So that's the SPX. Keep in mind, you know, the SPX I don't necessarily trade as much, but it gives me a nice overview look of what my plan is for the SPY. I wanted to show you guys the SPY. So this is what we were kind of watching. It's interesting how it played out. So as you all know, I did a TikTok video said be careful of the triple top, right? You know, in order for this triple top to play out, right, we had to reject somewhere around this line, right? We wanted to create a lower high, and then we would have had our peak rejection, and we would have crashed like crazy. And I think a lot of people were watching that because if you notice, right when we passed this line, what happened? I mean, it just exploded. I mean, you know, almost $2, a little over $2, right? In a northern way. Now, we got an instant rejection, right, which we actually did. A lot of us in our room, we took a put right here. This is where I put out, I think I made like 2,700 or something like that on this one that we put out, because if you look at this line here, when you pull out, I'm going to see if I see it on the 1 hour. Yeah, you can see, I mean, it's almost literally perfect to where it rejected last time, right? So I knew we would at least get some form of rejection off of that. Whether it's sustainable is another story, right? But look at how viable even this line was, because we pumped up and we got a rejection, and then we found support here, which you can see now the pre-market is up, right? So that obviously paid out. Now, I was watching the pre-market. We did get actually really high, almost like 431. I think it was 50 or 60. So we did retest this, guys. If my play today is if we cannot break this line, the 431.72, and get some kind of momentum up and retest this, if we're continuing to struggle up here, right, and I see those kind of bearish reversal candle patterns, or I get a break on my divergence hunter showing red, I'm gonna take those puts, right, and we're just gonna ride it down. So as far as my upper lower range on the SPY, like I said, anything up into like 435 is just going to be just a sick put to take. Anything, if you're taking those puts and you're riding those down, I would be really careful somewhere around the probably 422, 423 range, because it's likely to get at least a bounce. So you could get another scalp in that, right? This right here is the 200 on the 1 hour. I've been saying this thing's got to retest at some point. My suspicion is we will retest this. I just, we make it up as high as 435 before we do that, right? So a retest would put us somewhere around 420, and that would still be really bullish. Now, if you can catch that put right off of the 435, and you put a 10 or 14 day contract in that, and you can actually trail that stop as we pull back, I mean, it could be a really massive trade for you. Um, but again, we're I would like to see that short call come in. We still have this long call even on the SPY. It still has not called that short, and you can see here. Now, if you look at just like the SPX, we are getting higher highs and we're getting lower highs on the RSI. So the divergence is there, right? But now, people always ask me what the difference is on the time frames. The difference on the time frame is one going to be how powerful or impactful that movement can be. Also, the other thing is it's going to determine how soon it can play out. So typically things like 1 to 5 minutes can play out within minutes, or it could take an hour, right, or a couple hours to play. You get into the 15 minutes, I mean, it could be a couple days, right? Even a week. But when you get up into the hour, I mean, that could take, days, or it could take weeks, right? Depending, how that market goes. But keep in mind, news always will trump any TA. So, if the news comes out tomorrow, like let's say we're projecting 4.1 and it comes out at 5.0, I mean, the markets are going to take an absolute crap. I mean, it's just because the expectation was super bullish, so the markets built in the bullishness, and then it came out really, really bearish. And so that's going to cause it to actually react, right? So I could sit here all day and be like, we have bullish divergence, everything looks amazing, but at the end of the day, if the news doesn't support that, it's not gonna take it. Here's the tech stocks that we watch. I'm not gonna touch on these. If you guys trade in the room with us, then we do the full TA on these. But Apple's still holding strong, man. They got that new release on the headset. That thing is just amazing. So I would not be. I get side messages like, hey, should I take a call on Apple, or should I take? Is it ready to take a put? You talking about gap fill. I mean, we have a bearish gap fill here. I would not take a call on Apple right now because it is fighting all-time highs. Could it hit it and explode? Absolutely, right? If you want to take that gamble, hey, by all means. But again, anytime you're chasing all-time highs while we're like at all-time highs, I mean, you're gambling like crazy. So the experienced trader is going to know. Wait for the if you believe you're like overly bullish on Apple, you think it's going to the moon. Wait for the pullback, then re-enter that sucker, right? Don't chase the candles. It's just not smart. And if you don't want to take puts because it's just beating the crap out of the all-time high door, right? Then don't take a put on Apple. There's so many other things that you could trade, right? So, but Apple, I don't know, man. Apple's it's setting up to just continue to explode that that at all-time high. So I'm not taking any puts on Apple on this sucker. So looking over here, Microsoft, we are up on the pre-market. Everything's pretty much up on the pre-market. Amazon, and even Google, right, a little bit. So not doing the full TA. I just watch these because I do trade the SPY, so they're very important stocks to watch to impact what the SPY is doing. I only got about 2 or 3 minutes left, so I do want to talk a little bit about Bitcoin. So we talked about this last week. We had this fall. Everybody in the room, I was telling you guys, be really careful of the landmine bounce, which we did get. Now, it's funny because people use different terms, and like you hear a lot of people say like dead cat bounce, all that stuff, right? I don't like to use that term because although it fits it, I'm not one to just keep reiterating someone else's term on it, right? So we in our room, we always talk about landmine area, right? Because what does a landmine do, right? When you step on it, right? It basically at some point when you step on it, it's going to explode. But then at some point the dust settles, right? So the landmine area, when we talk about that, it doesn't mean we're just reversing and going to the moon. It just means that there's going to be an explosion, and then at some point we'll trickle back, right? And so we had kind of called that my TA that we did. I think it was like Thursday or Friday. After this had happened, I'd said, we'd have a pump up, a pull back into the middle. We'd probably range there. Now, the end or if scenario, as we always talk about, is we did have a rising kind of channel here, but then I was mostly watching this 200 EMA on the 1 hour. What I had talked about is that if we could not break and hold this, then we are likely to see a retest of the lower range. One of the things we talked about is that we could have a potential higher low at 25.8. We actually broke that. So that caused an actual retest. We even wicked almost exactly, if you look right here, to the same spot that we wicked here. So it didn't even capture this lower trend line. It actually hit the same exact point. I will caution a little bit because I don't like this rising channel that's going. So I don't know if this is going to be a retest explosion. But we're really close to this zone tracker, support. I would just keep an eye on this 200 EMA. If you're wanting to take a long, our indicators right now still are showing short. You can see it did really well. I mean, it caught the long, it caught the short. Just be patient. If you're wanting to be really careful. Either trade on the scalping, the 2 minute that we do, or wait for this 1 hour to flip, right? We do have a little bit of bullish divergence. It's not crazy. I mean, it says strong, right? But it's not real strong on that. I wouldn't take that. But I would wait till we flip this into a long. There's just so many things, guys, that are still bearish. We have the Bollinger bands are still red and orange flipping. Nothing's flipped green. We're still below the 200 on the 1 hour, and we're just right in the middle as far as the RSI goes. So we could really go up, we could really go down. The good news and the bad news for crypto, guys, is if the news comes out any kind of bearish tomorrow that causes the markets to actually tank or to drop, crypto is going to fall with it. It's just going to. I have a low of 23.7 or so is where my next landmine area would be, maybe 23.9. So if we do end up with a situation, where we had our fall, rising wedge, fall, rising wedge, and we get another, kind of nasty fall, I would suspect somewhere in the 23.9 that we're going to get another landmine bounce, right? So I will tell you with my ATAs, anything around 23 like this, I'll probably be running only longs, maybe one pair short with one DCA, so that way I'm not fighting a ton of them. But because I think in the longer scheme of things, I think we're going to be bullish. I think all this dust is going to settle with Binance. I think as long as I've been in the crypto space, the one thing that is a true fact that never changes is people overreact. It's like, this is why if you're on the right side of the coin, it could be so profitable because you capitalize on those overreactions, and it's just, I mean, the movements just make so much money. So we'll see how this SEC thing all banks out, right? If you look at our gap fill, you can see we're pretty balanced on the 1 hour. We do have a nice gap here, so we would need to push and break this high here, right? And that should give us enough steam to retest at least 26.3. So I would say from my high, today I would look for maybe 26.2, 26.3, a retest of this EMA here. If we flip this EMA, then we're basically going to come back and have a nice explosion, probably as high as 26.7. Now our zone tracker is actually calling it a little bit higher, 27.1. So we'll kind of see how that plays out. Again, I don't like this kind of rising pattern because that typically almost needs to break out. It doesn't always have to, right? But a breakdown again would be nice. And then we need some form of like clean double bottom, inverse head and shoulders, something to really show some like change in that trend, right? Is what I would really look for. So the 2 minutes, let's see where we're at. This is what I typically scalp on. It's actually showing a little more bullishness, because you kind of have that that pump up, and then that sort of like a falling wedge sort of look, right? It did call a short, which it actually wicked into TP1 here. um, yeah, called the long back here, so actually that was a really good long call for a scalp, and then this was a nice little short call, right? And it still could play out more, like we talked about. So because you got the Bollinger Band on the short time flipped red, little bit oversold, but room to go. But again, this type of pattern typically is gonna push north. So just scalp accordingly. If you're not using our indicators, guys, you really should. I mean, they're just so good. Um, so you can see here, this one actually did call us a short on the. This one's a 15-minute. Let's go to a 2-minute. I'm not gonna touch too much on ETH, guys. It's just gonna pretty much follow Bitcoin. That's all it's been doing. See, look at this, almost the same exact pattern. Same exact call too, like hit TP1, and it called this long, and it called that short. So, I mean, literally the same pattern. The 1 hour on ETH is looking a little stronger than Bitcoin, because it's not as much of a rising channel, right? We have a 1, 2, 3 touch of support, and it's really trying to flip this SMA. Um, ETH's looking a little bit stronger. You can see the short call in the 1 hour was really good. It called that short, right? TP, I don't know, what is that, 8? Um, the Bears are winning. If you look at your gap fill one, we're a little bit high on the spread. So although we could see some further downside, I would suspect that there's going to be a bounce here coming soon. So I'm still running long and short on those. So as far as the high low on ETH, guys, I wanted to actually mention that the crash. So if y'all remember, this did not shock me, because remember this red line that I said is kind of goofy because it goes through a lot of candles, but it seems to hold really strong, and we have to hold that as support in order to push north. You can see we tried to break it, couldn't, tried to break it again, couldn't, tried to break it again, couldn't, right? I mean, almost wicked like right at it, right? And then basically we had collapsed. So we got a nice crab call from here. We got the short call from the indicator. I mean, just everything lined up, right? The indicators just nailed that one. So yeah, pretty good. I'm gonna load Aave. I know that we're not out of it. This is the automated trading portion. This is all the ones that I'm running. The ones that I have existing, guys, we did set up a third DCA. Kind of wish I set them a little bit lower, but I'm happy with where I set them. We'll get out of them. I'm not too concerned. Obviously, with the SEC news that came out, it fell a little bit lower than I thought that it would. But let's just do some quick TA on the Aave one. You can see we did move our entry quite a bit down to 58. If you look where we DCA'd, I mean, look at how big that moved the entry, all the way from almost 64, right? We moved it all the way down to 58. So this was the fall that it had. We actually caught this one perfectly, it looks like, because it didn't go any lower. Look at that. We DCA'd 3, like literally as low as we possibly could go. So we couldn't get that any better. So we just need some kind of a little momentum up, like $5 on Aave, and that one's out, and we'll be in good shape. So far, an excellent placement on the DCA 3. We did get that real low, so that worked out just perfectly. So we're not going to touch anything, guys. I'm going to leave Aave. So let's go into the next one, which is, I'll just load ETH. I use this as my to-do list. Yeah, ETH is next, and then LTC, Maddox, all okay. So let's take a look at ETH. So ETH shorting has absolutely crushed it. I've been shorting ETH for a while, so TradingView has kind of a weird thing with our code on the statistics. It doesn't like to hold it forever, so every now and then you got to just move this forward a little bit if you want to maintain the stats. So as long as you move it forward and it doesn't change anything in here, then you're fine. And a lot of times that's going to help. See, it resets your stats. So if you ever wonder why that goes to 0, so it's a TradingView limitation. So let's take a look at the shorts. So in 10 days we made $84. So ETH shorts are killing it. I believe we're still 1 DCA if you're following. Oh, we actually have 2. So let's change that. So because we are not in a trade right now, guys, we actually sold right here. So if you're following along, I'm going to uncheck that because I do not want the second DCA unless I place it myself. Now let's see if it changes this. If it does, then we have to move that yellow candle. It did not. Okay. So you don't have to move the yellow triangle if you're in a sell and nothing changed because it's already looking for a long. So I don't have to touch nothing. All I had to do is uncheck it, the DCA, right? And then all I need to do is come in here to my ETH short. I'm going to delete the alert here. And then I'm going to create this other alert like this. ATA Gambit ETH short. Okay. And we're going to create. Anytime you make any change on this, guys, you have to change that alert because this is all like kind of like your canvas, right? But you don't, this doesn't know what you did if you don't tell it to, you know, recreate that alert. The alert is just built on your settings that you actually created within this here. So let's give this a second. Sometimes it takes a minute to recognize that short. There you go. But you want to make sure this loads before you close the layout because I've gone a little fast before and messed that up. So we do have our ETH short in there, so we are good. We are still going to take shorts. I'm okay with that, but I'm only okay with it on one DCA, especially with tomorrow, guys, because tomorrow, remember, and Wednesday, we could go parabolic. And I'm okay with that if it gets stuck, if I have one DCA, because I can use that second DCA to really, really cut that entry if it does get stuck. So let's take a look at the longs. Look at this beautiful longs did not get stuck. 5 days, made 35 bucks. For those that are new to the channel, basically any blue you see is where it took a long, green is where it took the sell. Look at how perfectly it placed these DCAs. So DCA 1, and it got out. So let's see, I think I only have this one on 1, yeah. I don't like the 2 unless it's needed. I manually add that. I recommend you guys do the same because it works out so much better because if the market's doing this, our ATA will crush it. Absolutely just decimate how much money that you make. It's so amazing. But the only thing, just like any live trader, right, that catches it is if there's a crazy move up or a crazy move down, right? And so the idea of our ATA is when you have those crazy moves, you want to close that gap. Well, sometimes it's hard for the ATA to get that best opportunity on just an absolute parabolic move. And I'm talking like $100, $200, $300 ETH, right, type move. I'm not talking 20, 30 bucks, right? If it stays in that range, I mean, it'll kill it anyways. So, yeah, so we're good on that. I'm not going to touch the long. We're actually currently in a long right now, which is going to be probably a really good play. It literally just took it. Yeah, you can see here, new order ATA ETH long. So on there, so we are in that long. If you're looking to start the ATA, you know, you're probably in a range you could do long and short because we are low in that range, right, where we're going to likely find some pretty good support if we do crash again. But we're also finding some support at prior support levels, right? So as long as you keep that one DCA, you should be okay. So let's take a look at LTC. All right, LTC long. Let's see where we're at. Man, we did have a nasty crash on LTC. Look at this, even LTC. Man, what a beast! I didn't even look at this all weekend, but we are trading longs, guys, even after a crash. So in 5 days, it made $134. So let's go back and see what happened. Like, how is it still in longs? Look at this. It literally took a long up here at 88 bucks, 89 bucks. DCA got out real quick and then let the crash happen before it got back into longs. Oh man, that is so amazing. That is awesome. I literally did not look at this, guys. Look at this, just been trading like crazy. Let this crash before it re-entered and still trading like crazy. And now longs are just in an amazing position. So I mean, this is like for it not to be to not be stuck. I mean, this thing's gonna make just a freaking killing. I'm actually really excited about this. I still have one DCA. I'm just gonna let that go. I'm gonna leave it, right? So we are currently in a long right now. Let's see if it's in profit. I think it just barely took it. Yeah, so it's just hanging out right by the entry there. Let's see how the shorts are doing. Is it stuck yet? Nope. Actually, shorts made 104 bucks in 12 days. And look at this, just been shorting the heck out of it. Again, guys, you know, I run my ATA like I trade scalping, right? I want it in, I want it out, secure your profit. I don't want to risk any profit there. So the shorts have been doing really well. It is out of a short if I want to stop that short. I'm not going to stop it on LTC. What I'm going to do is make sure that I do not have a second DCA. So if you're following along, ensure that you take that second DCA out. Make sure it doesn't change anything here when you do. Just give it a second. Nope, didn't change, so we're good. If it does change, you got to move that yellow candle. So we're going to take the alert out. We're going to add alert here. ATA Gambit LTC short. And we're going to create. All right. So we're back in business on this one. So, all right, so LTC, we're not going to touch anything on that. Yep, we're going to leave all this the same here. Good deal. And then let's see. So we have Matic and Sol to look at. So let's take a look at those. I'm sure that they're both still stuck. But let's see where our DCA was. Could it have been better? Are we, anything we should worry about? So we take a look at the 1 hour. Wow, Sol actually fell as low as $12. Crazy. I mean, it's seen lower. We've seen as low as 7, right? So it's definitely seen lower. Let's look at where we DCA'd and where our entry is. Got to go to the long. Let that load up. Okay, so it looks like our entry. So we're a little bit deeper in this one. Let's see where we DCA'd. Okay, so this one we didn't quite capture that bottom. Sol looks like it took a little bit more of a beating than the other one. So we did it at 17. We dropped our entry to 19. We're about $4 away, which, in the grand scheme of things on Sol, if you really zoom out to the 1 hour, you can see our upper is 26, our lower, right here is around 12, right? So we're still really low in the range. So for us to pull back up into this range where you can see it's just been a really heavy zone for, kind of where the price action likes to stay. So I like where our entry is, obviously I wish it would be better, but I wouldn't be against adding a fourth DCA for one of them if I need to, but let's take a look at Matic as well. Sol and Matic, like these ones were on that SEC list, so they just absolutely took beatings. So now, my recommendation, guys, is if you can't have the ability to add funds or you're really concerned about these, just set a stop loss, right? So if you set a stop loss, now that we have an established low, if you set this stop loss somewhere below it, like around 11.5, if it hits, it's going to hurt, right? It's definitely going to hurt. If you're really concerned about it, don't just stop out now, right? Just take, most of you guys are up like thousands of dollars. I mean, if you need to take a little bit of a hit, then take it. I'm going to let mine ride out. I think the dust is going to settle. I think the news overall is going to look like it's going to come out bullish. So, but if you want to protect your account so you don't just wake up and, to Sol back to $7, right? You can just take this wick right here, because you can see we gained some pretty nasty support here. And then just set that stop loss just below that. So how you do that, guys, is if I wanted to do it for me, I would just come down to the enable stop loss range right here, and then you just set your percent. And then when you set your percent, it's going to give you that red line. Just keep adding the percent until it gets to where you want it to be. So let's take a look at Matic. I believe Matic's in the same position. Matic is such a great project. It's kind of sad. It's just taking a beating from the news. I was really shocked that it actually got thrown in with all the rest of that. But yeah, it's same situation. It caught the DCA up here. We were anticipating a bump here, but with the news, I mean, it just absolutely tanked it. I mean, Matic went all the way down to 50 cents. But look at this bounce, though, guys. 50 cents all the way back to 64. I mean, the hedge funds just absolutely stocked up on that sucker. Let's look at the 1 hour and see where we're at. So you can see we got down to 50. Man, this is like as low as it's been in a while. Let's go to the daily. Yeah, so the lowest that it's gotten is 31. It looks like it bounced. This is why I bounced here, guys. Look at perfect peak to the same peak here. So got a nice bounce. We may get a rejection off 69 or so if we get up there, unless the news is super bullish. Let's look at what our entry is. I think it's higher. Yeah, we're at about 80, which is not a terrible entry for Matic, but Matic's a little deeper, right? So, we may need to help Matic and Sol. I refuse to add a fourth DCA until I see what the news is going to do, because the news may come out, be super bullish, and we don't have to touch nothing. But if the news comes out super bearish, we definitely don't want to add funds to that. We're gonna hang on. So we're just gonna let that one roll through. So appreciate you guys' time if you guys are following. Just to kind of finish up, I know I'm a little few minutes over. We do have the copy trade program mostly set. We will be testing it for the next few days, and as soon as we know that everything's firing 100%, we're gonna go ahead and launch that. So for those who are new, if you're watching on TikTok, what that's going to do is give you the ability to copy what I'm doing. So if I trigger something or I fire something on here, your account would just do the same thing. So you don't have to actually do the settings. And everything that I do on the copy trade program will be recorded on our events here. So if you just even want to watch kind of where my head is, if you see a trade getting deep and you're just kind of like, hey, I want to see what the plan is, right? All you have to do is come into here under the community events, and you can see here already, right? You got 612. So this is literally the meeting going on right now. And everything in our stuff is recorded. We want everything to be super transparent so you can see what my plan is, right? And then you still have the functions to stop out on your own. You can run, all the pairs that I'm going to run, or you can only choose, one or two pairs, right? If you're really worried. You have all the functionalities with the benefits of not having to do the TA or choose the direction. So I know many of you are excited about it. So as much as we are, I would suspect, I'm hopeful for Wednesday, maybe Thursday, but I would suspect by at least Friday we should have that copy trade out. If you're wanting to copy trade, my suggestion is to try to work your way out of some trades. If you get something that's not really a big loss, you might want to shut it down. Start preparing yourself, because whatever trade you're actually in when you start the copy trade with me, you don't want to turn that one on, because what I do is not going to match what you do. I have no way to know what you're in. So doesn't mean you have to get out of it. I will do a video or a huddle explaining how you can kind of work through that. But super exciting, because I know some of you guys who understand the technology, you're killing it, but some of you guys who struggle with it a little bit still, just because of time or stuff going on in your life, I think it's going to help you guys out tremendously. So appreciate you guys' time. I'm going to stop the live here. If you guys are in the community, I will be opening the trading floor today. I will have to step out though for a couple hours. As y'all know, I'm buying a house, so we're doing our walkthrough today. So I have to go do that this morning, but I'll talk more about that in the community. So we'll see you guys soon.